Hello, an unusually large amount of free agents with a staff status on the football market is the biggest and hottest topic of this summer, which is rather quiet so far. Maybe it's only calm before the storm though, who knows? As for this tendency, it would be safe to say that it will be only strengthened in the near future, given that Cristiano Ronaldo, Kylian Mbappe and Paul Pogba are only few months away from becoming basically the unrestricted free agents. Add to them Lionel Messi, who is currently officially unemployed, and you get 4 players out of top 10 best who are effectively, at least in theory, are available for a free transfer. This is an absolutely unprecedented situation. Even in 1996, when the Bosman ruling determined the current rights of players, the football market was not near as full of big names that are out of contract.
Meanwhile, back at that time, the sudden changes of rules caught many clubs off guard. For instance, the Golden Ajax lost 4 players in this manner. Edgar Davids and Mikhail Reiziger moved to AC Milan in 1996 as free agents, and Patrick Kluivert and Winston Bogarde went in the same direction 1 year later, effectively without a compensation. The irony is that the Italian giant gained very little from these transfers, at least on the pitch. All 4 Dutch players proved to be a flop, although later AC Milan managed to sell this quartet profitably. On the other hand, the club swiftly adapted to a new reality, and in the next 25 years, the deals of such type became a rarity. As you can see, since 1996 to this point, there were only around 15, 20 at most, really important transfers of this kind, and the vast majority of them included the veteran footballers, or those who, like McManaman and Ballack, didn't play at their best level in that period of time. There are very few exclusions. Robert Lewandowski's transfer to Bayern is first of them. A lot of people don't remember that back in 2013, the Pole was ready to leave Dortmund, but the club deliberately decided to keep him for 1 more season and refused a large sum of money, knowing that they inevitably lose him for free next year. A little while ago, in 2012, Sir Alex Ferguson memorably underestimated the young Paul Pogba's potential and his unique physical qualities, making not only grave but also very costly mistake. As we well know, the French prodigy, who left Manchester United as a free agent, later blossomed at Juventus, and his return to Old Trafford in 2016 still remains the club's most expensive transfer. At last we could mention in this category Sol Campbell, who at the turn of the century has been tired of losing at Tottenham, that firmly mired in the middle of the table, and after expiration of his contract joined the arch-rivals Arsenal, tempted by the regular Champions League football. So the trend was obvious, but the pandemic changed all. The empty stands, sharp reduction in revenues, and hence budget cut left even the biggest clubs in the financial crisis almost unprotected. Even the likes of Barcelona, Real and Juventus are facing uncertainty and trying to avoid long-term financial commitments. That's why Florentino Perez didn't really try to keep the petulant Sergio Ramos, who at the age of 35 asked for another luxurious contract and opted to let him go to the more generous PSG. That's why Juventus are in no hurry to retain Cristiano for another season or 2 beyond the actual arrangement, because his monumental salary is a huge burden, and that's why Barcelona still couldn't register Messi new contract. The club simply didn't free up enough money for it. On the other hand, players, not only stars, but journeymen as well, must defend and promote their interests, and desire to be a free agent is no other than the consequence of it. This status gives an opportunity to negotiate with several different clubs simultaneously, haggle over salary and image rights and some other incentives. The only risk in this case is possible serious injury, which could significantly lower cost of player, but a potential advantage definitely justifies this risk. Take a brief look at the list of free agents, and you realize that it's almost an unprecedented situation. In the meantime, if we consider only the biggest stars, we need to understand that every case is purely individual. Messi is a prime example of it. It's obvious that money isn't the biggest factor for him. His desire to win was more important. But to be fair, today's Barcelona are in such disarray that it would be hard to compete in the Champions League on a really high level in the next few seasons. It might be more accurate to say that the main Leo's motivation was the comfort and happiness of his family, bearing in mind that he has always lived in the Spanish-speaking community and don't know any other language. Taking this into account, it became obvious that the chances of Messi switching clubs and moving to another country were initially pretty slim, especially if we recall his astronomical wage, which is a big obstacle even for the likes of Chelsea, Manchester City or PSG. In this light, the pressure the Argentinian put on Barcelona's newly promoted boss Juan Laporta seemed more like an attempt to limit the damage and get the best out of possible options. In other words, Messi would like to make sure that Barca will be as much competitive as it's available under the current circumstances, knowing that it would be hard for him to play for another club. Moreover, he even made the sacrifice by taking a 50% pay cut, though it's still a giant sum of money, and now Laporta is feverishly trying to safely bring it on budget. That's why the Blaugrana still didn't officially announce Messi's new contract and didn't register it. Pogba is a completely different story, with another source of motivation. At the age of 28, the Frenchman suddenly realized that he is no longer a young player. Being right in the middle of his career, Paul wants to win. After 4 consecutive trophyless seasons at Manchester United, it's a natural ambition. At the same time, he and his authoritative manager, Mino Raiola, are used to a certain level of income, so the player and his camp are keeping all their options open, trying to find the best package. Being on the verge of becoming an unrestricted free agent, from the next January he is entitled to sign a contract with any club. Pogba is currently evaluating whether he should stay at Manchester United for the final season or move to PSG in the next few weeks. One thing is for sure, the selection process would be tricky, and much will depend on the concrete circumstances and Paul's mood. Therefore, the scenario in which the Frenchman eventually will sign a new contract with the current club couldn't be ruled out either. Mbappé's situation had a lot of similarities, with one major difference. Contrary to his older compatriot, Kylian is seeking not only for trophies and money, but also craves adoration and fame. The selection of the next club for him is basically the selection of the place where he will get the best chance to win the Champions League along with the Ballon d'Or. For this reason, the Frenchman puts Real with their exclusive media resources and political influence over PSG, his current club. On the other hand, this story is far away from the climax. Every incisive move in this case in the next few weeks would be surprising, given the French club's notorious reluctance to sell their best players, the cautious and even reticent behavior of Kylian himself, and the palpable lack of resources from Real's side. After Rafael Varane's transfer to MU, Perez should have enough free money in order to make a proper offer in the coming weeks, but from Madrid's point of view, it's much more profitable to wait until the next year and get the forward as a free agent. Mbappe's fate is closely linked with Cristiano's future, whose contract with Juventus also expires in 2022. It must be pointed out that the ex-champions of Italy are in an extremely vulnerable and precarious position in this case. If Juve decides to retain the Portuguese star for the upcoming season, they risk losing him without any compensation. And this is after a few €100 million invested in Cristiano. At the same time, it's probably too late to sell. At the age of 36, Ronaldo's potential price would be at an all-time low. There is third option, but it doesn't look attractive as well. In theory, the old lady could renew his contract, but the Portuguese's enormous salary is a stumbling block if we recall Juventus's financial difficulties. As for Cristiano himself, he is in a better position. Ronaldo could afford to bide his time during the next season, knowing that in January he is free to sign a contract with any club. In this sense, PSG looks like a legitimate and feasible option, especially in the event if they couldn't hold off Mbappe. In any scenario, it would be exciting to check the transfer news. In this respect, the next few months certainly wouldn't be dull and boring.